obviously didn't know as a kid that you would be worth $10 million one day. Right?
I knew for a fact.
You knew for a fact.
I knew for a fact. Unequivocally.
Okay.
There was never a doubt in my mind.
So you had full confidence from day one?
Full confidence. Not even,
Really? Most people struggle with that. Why?
I knew at the age of 8 years old I was going to be a billionaire.
Why?
Just gut feeling. Like, just gut feeling, and the combination of like my drive, like certain traits that I have. I'm not the most intelligent person at all. I have very good emotional intelligence. I have very good self-awareness, and I knew I'd be in this exact same situation. Like I told my mom always when I was younger, like, yeah, I would be like 9 or 10 years old. I mean, we were, at that point, that's when things started to get like sort of bad at the home. We were like cut off like a couple years before that, and my mom would be hiding bank statements and stuff like that because I would try to fish them out. Basically, I could see every month like the money in the bank going down, basically almost to zero, and I would be calculating our run rate. I was really like 9 years old at this point. But yeah, even when I was like 10 or 12 years old, I told my mom, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna buy a Range Rover. Right? Like I was like, you're gonna be driving a Range Rover. And funny enough, it's her birthday a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't want to like surprise her because my mom, it was one of those presents where I just didn't want to surprise her. Anyway, I told my mom I was gonna buy her a G-Wagon, right? I was like, that's your birthday gift. And funny enough, she's like, look, honestly, right now I want to travel. So anyways, I ended up giving her $150,000 instead of cash to enjoy herself.
Wow. What a nice birthday gift.
So,
my birthday's coming up soon, right?
Yeah. 4 days after mine.
Yeah.
Capricorns. Man, Capricorns are the best. But yeah, so I knew for a fact. Right? Like, I knew I'd be in this exact same situation. I'm 22. I think I'm 10 years ahead of schedule. Maybe like 8 to 10 years, but I knew for a fact, not even a doubt.
So you've gotten to 10, 20 million, right? Why keep going down? You can buy anything you want. Is there something materialistic that is driving you forward, or is it just work?
Sport. I enjoy the sport. First of all, a couple of things. I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, do not derive any pleasure from buying myself stuff anymore.
Right.
Like, I bought it, like, okay, maybe cars. I know I've never been really a car guy. My watch collection is $3 million. I wear, if you see me,
the nicest clothes. Nicest clothes.
Dude, I mean, as we went shopping the other day. Like, I spend easy and I have a rule, which this sounds all ridiculous. But I'll get into my rule in a second. $30,000 on a few pieces, and you will never see me wear a brand ever. Like, you'll never know how expensive my things are. You'll see me in a jumper. It's a $4,000 Loro Piana jumper. Like, I like to be low key like that. But on that note, so I have a rule. I have to spend 20% of my income, and I challenge you to do the same, right? Because if you're and this will be another 8-figure year. So for me, my rule is like, I should spend $150,000 a month. Also, I don't pay any taxes because I live in Dubai, so that helps a lot. But so for me, it's nothing material anymore. Like I spend more. I probably spent $150,000 on my mom's wardrobe last year, just buying her shit, right? So I don't derive any pleasure from buying myself stuff anymore. So it's not materialistic. There's nothing I could like. People don't understand, like, when you're wealthy, it's not like you get into your Lambo and then, like, it's not like I look every minute, I'm like, wow, I have a $500,000 watch. Like, just like, it's nothing to you, right? Your baseline changes so quickly. So it's not that, it's two things. And I was actually thinking about earlier, I was like, where I am right now, where I have, depending on the day, my investment, something like that, $10 to $15 million, after tax in my investment portfolio. That's not like portfolio worth or whatever. Like, that's if I need to liquidate everything, I could have that next week. That's a really scary place to be. That's where you realize you really have no money. Because when you make $1 million, when you make your first $1 million, you think you're really rich, and you're not. When you make 10 million, you realize you're in this weird in between. Like, at $100 million, really, that's where you're like, I'm sorted for the rest of my life. And I know, look, for some people, they would hear 10 million and like, oh, cool, I can live off 800, put that into investments and live off, $1 million a year. It is what it is. But like, for me, like 10 is just such a funny number. Like, I don't think you're really wealthy yet. $1 million is really like, you think you're rich, but you're not. I think 10 is like you're just on the cusp, but you're still not in that club yet. So that's number one. And number two, it's the love of the sport. You know, like we play a sport, entrepreneurship is a sport, and the way we keep track is money.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was having this conversation the other day with one of my friends actually. You know, if you and I were 100-meter sprinters and, you know, we just beat our personal best and we put it up on our Instagram story, everyone claps. They're like, oh yeah, you just hit your personal best. If you and I are entrepreneurs and we just had our first $1 million month and we put that on our Instagram, why are you showing off? Like, you know, why are you gloating? It's like, well, no, I'm proud of what I've done. Like, I'm proud of my accomplishments. And this is a barometer for how much value am I providing, right? Like, how's the market responding to what I'm putting out there? Because that's what we do, right? We're in the game of business.
Yeah.
So for me, entrepreneurship as a sport is the most difficult sport on earth. There's more competition than any other sport out there. And it's a sport that's 24/7. I guess you could say that about some other stuff, but there's never a time you switch off. And it's a sport with infinite possibilities, and it's also a sport with the longest run rate, right? Because when we're 55, we're going to be playing at a much higher level. There's no one in traditional sports who plays at a higher level at 55 than they do at 35. So I like the sport, man.
Very well said. Very well said. And $1 million these days is not a lot of money. Even if you want a house and a car and like some savings, that's $1 million. Especially with the prices now of everything. Like if you want a decent life, you need $1 million. People are so like they're so accustomed to getting a loan on everything. I see people getting a loan on furniture now. Like a loan on like everything. We don't own it. So like if you were to own everything you had, how much would it take? $1 million. Easy. Easy for like a nice comfortable life. Do you, because this is how I feel. I feel like now, at the point that I'm at right now as I'm filming this, I feel like anybody could get to this point. Do you feel the same way? Like it feels easy. Like if you were to take everything from us today, in 6 months, we would come a very long way.
I genuinely think 70% of becoming a millionaire is just stop. I mean, it's funny because obviously we're enjoying a glass of red wine here, but stop drinking, stop smoking pot. I don't care if you think it makes you creative, and get 9 hours of sleep a day. Like that's 90% of it. And you just do that for enough years, and you find a business model that isn't ridiculously hard, and actually you're not setting yourself up to fail. And I think and for some people it might take 24 months. For some people it might take 36 months. For some people it might take 10 years to find success in what they're doing. But like, what's your other option?
Yeah, you have to.
100%.
You absolutely have to. And another thing I want to get into, we could probably talk for 10 hours.
Yeah.
There's an imaginary linear line right now that's getting every year. It's going higher and higher. And it's, if you don't want to be a slave forever, like if you want to be free, truly free, you need to break above this line. And it's getting harder and harder and harder every single year. And so as a man, you have to. You can't be a slave. Like you can't live in the little track home with your family. And if one thing happens, like government knocks on your door or you get in a car accident, like you need to be able to take care of your family as a man. I 100% believe this. And that line is getting harder and harder. So you have to do it, and you have to do it now, right now. And it's also easier than ever, because was this last 12 months your best year ever? 100% same. So it's also easier than ever because of COVID. And now with crypto and everything, so much of commerce and finance is going peer-to-peer. And we're removing big companies. Big companies used to have 10,000 employees. Billion-dollar companies now have hundreds, right? There's $10 million companies with a couple of employees, like your agency or some of your other businesses. So it's easier now than ever, and you absolutely have to do it now, 100%.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that.